Hello friends, Jennifer Pearson here with my July deck of the month. So this is a deck, the Lakota Sweat Lodge Cards, that I previously had started to dig into. Actually, it was at a time when one of my part-time jobs was as a security guard at a chicken processing plant. And I had a lot of time, especially when I worked the weekend. I worked at least one day of the weekend when there was hardly anybody around. And so one of my projects was working through this guidebook and this deck. And then I ended up getting full-time work and set a lot of things aside. I set almost everything aside except for buying decks, because then I had the money to buy decks. And this does require some concentration. Like, just in flipping through this to start to refamiliarize myself, it's like, where's one of the... It's full of notes. I've got like notes jotted in pencil like all over the pages. These are just the introductory pages. This is a whole... It's a whole Lakota cosmology of how the world works and our relationship to it. So it is not Oracle Deck Light. It is Oracle Deck Intense. And not necessarily that the messages are intense, but the ideology behind it is, if you're going to use it more than just, choosing one card, and you're going to see how they work together, then, even on the pages for the individual cards, I'm jotting notes, you're going to have to get into the mindset. So again, you could just pull one card and read about that card and think about it. But because it is a system, and it's an interlocking system, not unlike, the tarot, where, if you have a set of tens that come out, that has a meaning. It's not just about the individual cards, or you have a set of court cards of different kinds, that has a meaning. So it's interlocking. And there are some cards that, to me, as an outsider, in terms of the Native American spiritual traditions, as an outsider, there are cards that seem the same to me that aren't to them. Like, there's at least two wind cards, and I am not getting it, at least initially I wasn't getting it. And then as I got deeper into the whole system, I was starting to see what the differentiation was between them. So it takes some work for me. This deck takes some work. But so I'm glad, actually, and that's why I put it on here, was because I knew it was a deck that I wanted to return to and continue to work on. Yeah. But I would say that the verdict is out, whether I am really able to use this deck, or whether I want to keep it kind of like the Tao Oracle, as a deck that could be really useful for learning, for looking at the world in a different light, looking at things in a way that isn't automatic to how I was raised and the culture I was raised in. You know, and that has its own value, but then it's kind of taken out of the divination deck group for me. It's something else. It's a deck to learn about another culture more than it is a deck to be used for divination. So let me show you some of the cards. So this has cloud down here, and it has I believe these are Lakota words for that. No, this is 25. I was going to say, I'm not sure if I had these in a particular order for further study or not. There's Tob Tob, the 8 directions of the wind, and I believe there's another Tob Tob in here somewhere, which is part of the, yep. And there's Tob Tob for bear, okay? A very different card than this, but having the same Lakota word. So those are some of the things that I needed to come to terms with, and some of the things that they considered negative, and some of the things that they considered, like this Kasa, however you pronounce it. Of course, I don't know. I think Yum is another one. These things are all like interrelated. Tate, I think there's more than one Tate, or if that's again, yep, there's the other Tate. So here we have Tob Tob. I'm going to scare you guys off with this deck. What happened to my other Tob Tob? So you had Tob Tob, which was the 8 directions of the wind. Oh, let me see about Skan also. So you had the other Tob Tob, which was the 8 directions of the wind. And then you have Tate, which is the wind. And then you also have another card, Tate, that is the wind. So you have Tate Tate, and you have Tob Tob, which is the 8 directions of the wind, and you have Tob Tob, which is bear. So there's, and they all have different numbers, but this duplicate wording indicates that they have a relationship. And even things that don't have, like, that don't have the same name or guide word, necessarily guide word. Where's the other one? I'm pretty sure, if I'm recalling correctly, that this, Kasa, goddess of water, is related to Yum, the whirlwind, and Yumeni, which is whirlwind and storm. So what the difference is between whirlwind and storm and whirlwind is part of the challenge. And then we have Yumeni Woha, I don't know how you pronounce that, Woha, which is called the material. It doesn't have to do with air or water necessarily. So, I do like the imagery. I like that it is, the part of the reason that it's going through this, the whole cosmology, is so that you see how that cosmology relates to a sweat lodge. This is the Lakota Sweat Lodge cards. So you can see how that system of thinking relates to what is done in a sweat lodge. And one of the sets of cards, so one of the things to like about this as an oracle deck is that it does kind of have sets. I don't know that I would call them suits, but sets. So from card 25 to card 49, you have the elements of the Sweat Lodge. So again, you could have an entire spread that is from this group of cards. You know, Sweat Lodge oriented cards. And then you could have, you know, if you were pulling 4 or 5 cards, you could have an entire set of cards in a spread that were one of the 8 supernaturals or one of the 16 great mysteries. And those break down, I think the 16 great mysteries break down into 4 sets of 4. Anyway, as I said, it is somewhere it has that. Here they are. Within the 16 great mysteries, you have 4 superiors, 4 associates, 4 subordinates, and 4 inferiors. Yeah. So, July. Another attempt to grapple with the Lakota Sweat Lodge cards and see what comes of it. To see, and I will try to do some spreads. I won't just do the card by card studying, which is what I had done before. I will definitely be doing some of that card by card studying as well. And I'll be going back and rereading all of the things I'd already written in relation to these cards. Yeah, so I'll try to make progress on that. And I will try it in some spreads and the daily draws to see if I can read it without worrying too much about everything that's in the book. Whether it's at all helpful to me to think about the interrelations, you know, what set of the great mysteries, the 16 great mysteries, a particular card is, or any of that. Or if I need to pretty much disregard that. So I'm going to say this is my July deck, but I am like 2 months ahead because of some decks that I quickly decided I wasn't going to keep. So I don't technically, this is technically on my initial list, I think was set for September. So I might actually take 2 months to work on this. I might do that. We'll see. It'll either be a deck of the month or it will be a deck of 2 months. But there it is. There's a little introduction to the next deck, at any rate, that I will be tackling in my deck of the month series to get to know some of my oracle decks a little better, and over the course of that deciding whether they're keepers for me or if I need to find them a new home. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.